Please read the question before starting our discussion by pausing the video. Well, this question is related with software classification. So first we will have a look at what software is. So we know the four basic components of a computer system: hardware, software, firmware, and liveware. So one of those components is the software. So what do you mean by software? A software is a set of instructions given sequentially to a computer to get a specific task done. So we call them software, or sometimes we call them applications or apps or programs. So how do you develop a software? So if you want to develop a software, you have to use a programming language. So there are some generations of programming languages. So at present, most of us use the third generation programming languages, such as Java, Python, C, Visual Basic, and there are many more. So when we use a third generation programming language, we write the codes to develop a software, and we have to write these codes according to some specific rules, which are known as the syntax. So we have to follow the syntax given by a particular programming language and write the codes and develop a computer program. So when we develop a computer program, the codes we use to develop the program cannot be seen. They are hidden. So we can see the facilities given in the software. Sometimes there will be a user interface and some buttons and some other type of some other type of tools will be there. We have to use these tools and get a specific task done. So when we take all the software in the world, we can have a basic classification. What is it? The software can be divided as system software and the application software. System and application software. So what do you mean by system software? So we use the system software to manage the computer and get the most essential tasks done in a computer. Example, we have to manage the resources attached to a computer. There are many resources connected with the computer. There are hardware resources and software resources. We have to manage all these things. So we use the system software to get all these things managed. We manage the processors and memory and some other resources. So system software can also be categorized further as the operating systems, then the utility software, and the language translators. Language translators. So operating systems can be identified as the most essential software running in a modern computer. So you cannot run other type of software if you don't have the operating systems. So you may have a Windows operating system or a Linux operating system or an Apple Macintosh operating system. So that is the basic or the most essential software needed in a computer. So then the utility software or the utility programs. The utility programs are used to run the computer smoothly. One popular example of a utility software is an antivirus programs or antivirus software. So we really do not need the antivirus software to run the computer, but in case of a virus attack, so we may not be able to run the computer smoothly and we have to face a lot of different kinds of troubles there. So if you have a utility software such as an antivirus software in the computer, it may prevent a virus attack or you may delete the virus or quarantine it. So there are many other utility programs related with the system software. So we have to discuss separately. And the language translators. So we already know computer software are developed by using the computer languages. So there are popular languages in the world to develop the software. So once we develop software by using, especially by using a second or third generation language, those programs should be converted into or translated into a machine understandable language to run them in the computer. So because when we think about the third generation languages such as Java or Python, so these programs developed by using these third generation languages cannot be understood by the computer because the computer understands only one language that is known as the machine language. So the computer developed by us should be translated into the machine language. So the language translators are used for that purpose. So these are the three categories of the system software. And the application software, what are they used for? Application software are used for getting some specific tasks done. For example, you may need to prepare a document and you may use word processing software such as MS Word for developing such a document. And you may need to calculate the salaries of some employees in an organization. Then you may use something like a spreadsheet program, something like MS Excel. And you may need to edit a photo, you may need to edit a video, and you may need to play a game. So all these are application program. So because that we use each program to get a particular or a specific task done, they are the application software. So the one basic category of software is the system software and the application software. There is another classification based on the ownership or the licensing, which is let's say, let's explain it in this way. So when we develop computer software, so we use a computer programming language and we write the codes and develop the program. And there are some organizations and the people who develop the software, after they develop the software is given free. And we don't have to purchase it by paying some money because the software is available free. At the same time, they provide us the source code or the original programming codes used to develop the program are also given freely. So what is the advantage if when we get the, or if we can get the get the source code? So if we know that particular language used to develop that program, we can use those source codes and modify those source codes and customize that software according to our requirement. Or you may modify these source codes and develop another advanced version of the same software. So you must have the understanding of that programming language used to develop that program. That is the main advantage. And there are some organizations and there are some people who develop the programs again, and they do not provide the source code. We can't buy the source code, but we can buy the software. We can purchase the software, but the source code is not given. It is not given freely, and we can't even buy the source code. So such software are categorized as proprietary software. Proprietary software. So remember, proprietary software do not provide the source code. That is not available. We can't purchase, but we have to pay and buy the software, but you can't get the source code. The other one is the free and open source software. Free and open source software. So we call them FOSS, free and open source software. What is special about this one is the source code is available. So you can get the source code freely, and most of the time, even the software is given freely. So we can modify these source codes and develop an advanced version or customize the software. So this is the basic classification of software. So we will have look at the question again. Which of the following pairs contains types of software that are different with respect to ownership or licensing? So you remember we divided the software based on the ownership or licensing. That is the proprietary software which do not provide the source code, and the free and open source software which provide the source code. Or in other words, in proprietary software, we have to buy the license. So we must have a license to use this software. So when we buy the software, we are given the license. So just look at the third answer, proprietary software and the open source software. So we don't or they do not have a license. We don't have to buy a license for using the software, and even the code is given, source code given. So when you categorize or classify the software according to the ownership or licensing, the third one or third answer is the correct one. Correct answer. It is the proprietary software and the open source software.